It's your boy Luke here for our fades and sleepers for the Tournament of Champions. Here in this video, we're going to cover some of the golfers being a little bit overhyped for this week, my fades, and of course, some of the guys that are being a little bit overlooked, maybe the diamonds in the rough, our sleeper picks. The goal here, of course, is to help you guys avoid some of those high-owned plays that I just don't see making it this week. And of course, those diamonds, those gems down low, they're going to help you go out and win some of these large field tournaments. So with that being said, let's hop right into it. First off with our fades for this week. Our first fade is going to be Patrick Reed, actually one of my favorite players on tour. Very polarizing player, that's for sure. But his course fit here, I'm not necessarily sold on. You guys can see his expected ownership at 23.8%, one of the highest on the entire slate, not just for this price range. In this price range, by far the highest owned option that we have. And in terms of course fit, you can see up there with the metrics at number 39 out of 39 in the field. So the worst course fit out there. First off, a lot of that comes down to the driving distance, somebody who's not known for that length, and at a course that's nearly 7,600 yards, even with the elevation change in play, that is probably going to cause you some problems. You're looking at hitting long irons, driving irons into some of these par fives, whereas some of the longer players on tour might even have mid irons. It's going to be an issue at this type of golf course. And while he did play well at the Hero World Challenge, that was back in December. Outside of that, his 2021 was pretty grim. He had that early win at the Farmers, but after that completely fell off the board. And a large reason for that is that he was losing on approach in nearly 60% of his events, which isn't going to be a recipe for success. He had a few top 25s mixed in there. Another nice finish at the Bermuda Championship in that fall swing. But really in between, it was a lot of missed cuts, a lot of 40th, 50th place finishes, and overall, not what we're used to seeing for Patrick Reed. So at nearly 24% ownership, he would be worth taking a few shots on at modern ownership, 10 to 12%, that type of number. But as chalk, not somebody I'm looking to invest in. Again, he's one of my favorite players on tour. There's no doubting that he's a high birdie or better percentage. He's also a great putter on Bermuda grass, but really lacks those ball striking stats that we're looking for at this type of venue. It's unique in its own with all of the hanging lies in play, all of the elevation changes to try and account for, which makes it a puzzle of its own, which definitely plays into Patrick Reed's book there. But you also got to be able to put yourself in scoring positions to get to 25 under par. And I kind of doubt his ability to do that this week. At number 2, we have Abraham Answer at $8,100. So also in that middle tier range, a little bit less chalky than a Patrick Reed at 17.8% ownership, but much like Patrick Reed, also deals with those off the tee issues. He's somebody who's not known for his distance, but while he is extremely accurate off of the tee, we're also dealing with the largest fairways on the PGA Tour. So something that typically gives him a huge advantage over the field is pretty much going to be negligible this week. On top of that, Bermuda grass is far from his best surface, and while he is one of the better putters in this field, not going to see as huge of an advantage on these type of tropical Bermuda grass surfaces. Another thing to consider here as well is that he's also a little bit pricier than he should be. If we take a look at some of these guys in this mid-tier range, while Abraham Answer would typically be a value at $8,100, we're used to seeing him close to $9K. In this star-studded field, you could argue that he should be priced closer to maybe a Harris English or a Patrick Reed. So at that type of price tag, with the type of course fit that we have here, not somebody that I'm looking to make a priority in my player pool. And if he, again, like a Patrick Reed, if he was closer to single-digit ownership, right around 10%, would definitely be worth taking a few shots on, just because he can get super hot with the putter. And anytime we have a winning score near -25, that could very well be the way that you get there. The issue is he going to have enough opportunities to actually do that? And again, the ball striking, the off the tee play, a little bit too big of a question mark for me there, and that's why I'll be pivoting elsewhere. At number 1, our biggest fade of the slate, somebody that I'm not super comfortable fading, but when we take a look at some of the other options around him, we have no choice. He's priced in $10,000, right around all of the studs here. That's Viktor Hovland, and at nearly 20% ownership as well. It's not like people are actively going out and avoiding him. So somebody who has the ball striking we're looking for, so unlike Patrick Reed and Abraham Answer, checks all of the boxes for setting up opportunities. He's got the length, he's got the approach play that we're looking for. The question mark here is the putter. Not only is he a not so great putter on Bermuda grass, more known for his putting on past polymer, even bent, Hovland's also somebody who deals with issues within 100 yards. He's not the best wedge player, better at some of those full shots, some of these longer type of venues. And while he'll be able to hit those on these par 5s, that kind of thing, on some of these reachable par 4s, some of the par 4s measuring less than 350 yards, which there are 4 on the docket this week, he's going to have some issues. So I like him at some of these other venues that fit his game better. Again, he's $10,000. The guys priced around him also just kind of bully him out of ownership. First and foremost, you have John Rahm at the top of the board, Justin Thomas, absolute immaculate course fits here. Both also coming in with relatively good form. You also have Colin Morikawa, Bryson DeChambeau, Xander Schauffele, Patrick Cantlay as well. I love all of their games for this golf course, particularly Bryson, who we'll get to here in a second. A lot more and at those type of prices. So for me, if he was in that $9,000 range, would be worth having as chalk, but priced among all of the giants of the PGA Tour, probably not the week to go and get him out there. So like him for the long term. Again, much like a Patrick Reed, actually one of my favorite players to watch on the PGA Tour. But for DFS this week, a little bit higher owned than he should be. Now for the sleeper picks, the guys being a little bit overlooked this week. We'll start off with Stuart Sink at an even $6,000. So not only is he giving you a ton of salary flexibility, I also think he has a lot of upside to potentially compete this week. So first and foremost, this guy's somebody we want to target at golf courses with large fairways. Just think of his success at Harbor Town. He's had multiple wins at that venue over his career, and they have the second largest fairways on tour. Of course, here at Kapalua, the #1 largest fairways for the PGA Tour, so driving accuracy is not going to get him into any trouble here. That's something that he has struggled with towards the end of his career. Earlier on in his career, was known for his distance, known for his accuracy, one of the best off-the-tee players in that era. And towards the end of his career, he's actually gone longer, but at that expense, has definitely sacrificed some of that accuracy he was known for, and now really tries to be a pinpoint with his wedges and some of his iron play. That'll definitely be the case here at Kapalua when you have some of these long irons in hand, some of these wedges as well on those short par 4s that we talked about. He'll most certainly be able to put himself in position, and in 2021 had one of his best years ever with the flat stick. So if he can continue that momentum on the greens, lash it out there with the driver as per usual, which again is not going to be an issue this week with the fairways that we have, and lean on those irons that he's always had for his career, I think he's a very live player down low to potentially finish in the top 5. So at super low ownership there, 6.8%. Love going to him in the circumstance. If we take a look at the metrics, they're not going to pop off the board. Again, his course fit's a little bit sneaky with that accuracy issue off the tee. In terms of his putting, it's up and down. It's very inconsistent. We'll have weeks where he loses 3 or 4 strokes on the greens and then goes out there and gains 3 or 4. So that's really the key piece that we need to come around is the flat stick. But in 2021, we saw him pop a lot more in that category than we've seen in years past. So maybe he's able to do it in this field of giants. Next up, we have Harris English, who was also on my core plays video. He's the winner at this venue last year. And for him to be at just 10.8% ownership is, quite frankly, a little bit disrespectful. This is somebody who's clearly found it with his game. For 6-7 years there, it was kind of irrelevant. Didn't really see him compete very often. But now since he's made a swing change, and that hasn't really been documented what that change was, he's a completely different golfer. First and foremost, was always very good off the tee, accurate, well above the tour average in terms of his distance, but he really found it with the irons. He went from being a consistent loser with the irons to right around 1/3 of a stroke gained per round last year, which ranks him in the top 50 for the PGA Tour. The putter's always been there as well. It's really just been the irons that were the missing piece. On Bermuda grass, he's one of the top 5 putters in the field this week, which is always great to see. He's kind of been known for that ability. Last year, the commentators were just kind of cracking up the whole time as he made everything. But we saw that a few weeks ago at that team play event, the QBE shootout. He also made everything there on Bermuda grass. It's just something that he's used to doing. Gains nearly 3/4 of a stroke per round on Bermuda grass. Only a few guys on tour that are actually better than him. In this field, again, top 5 in terms of that category. But Denny McCarthy, he gains 1.25 strokes per round on Bermuda grass and 0.75 on every other surface. That's the same kind of split that you have with the Harris English. Typically right around 1/3 of a stroke gained per round putting gets up to 3/4 of a stroke. So that's when you know that a guy is a specialist on this surface. That is going to equate to nearly 2 strokes over the whole golf tournament. So again, if it comes down to the irons, which he's been much better at this point of his career, I have a lot of faith in him this week. In terms of course fit, you can see he's there at number 18. Recent form, number 31. I'm not necessarily going to hold that against him. He's not somebody who's extremely consistent to begin with. When he has his game, he tends to pop, go out there, give you a top 5 finish. And when we're playing in some of these large field tournaments, trying to get some ownership leverage, we want somebody who, when he has his game, is actually going to get us there, right? We're not looking for a 15th place finish this week. A top 5 finish is what we're looking for in these large field tournaments. And Harris English made that extremely evident last year that he's more than capable of getting there. At number 1, though, the guy who's the X factor of the slate. I didn't expect to be playing Bryson this week. I thought he'd be a little bit more chalky than he is, but nobody can doubt his range of outcomes. This guy has the highest end volatility of any player on tour. That is by design, with him getting bigger, adding that distance off of the tee. He was already one of the most aggressive players on tour, but now he's actually able to take advantage of that and embody that with his type of drives. So let's talk about the course fit. First and foremost, his off the tee distance going to be a massive advantage here. There's actually going to be 3 or 4 holes he's going to be looking at driving on this golf course, let alone going for 2 on all of the par 5s. So you're looking at nearly a third of the holes here being eagleable for a Bryson DeChambeau, which is obviously going to lead to a lot of scoring. And last year, even though a lot of the undulation, the elevation changes, the wind, all of that should cause him some issues, he's going to have a really hard time trying to dial in his distances. If he's giving himself enough opportunities, he's going to hit enough good wedges to score. I mean, we've seen that at some of these courses in the past where he really isn't a good course fit, but still is able to dominate a field. That's just the type of game that he has. And really the one feather in the cap this week that makes him such a great course fit here are the large fairways. You know, a lot of the other guys on this list, you know, were good course fits because of the large fairways. You know, Stuart Sink, Harris English a little bit more accurate, so not as huge of an advantage for him. But for Bryson, that's huge. I mean, he can go out there, just lash away at every single hole. Some of the holes that are downhill, he's going to hit over a 450-yard drive. At number 18, he might hit a 500-yard drive if he gets the hole downwind. It's already downhill, everything like that. I just like his upside this week. He's the highest birdie or better percentage player on the PGA Tour, one of the best putters on tour, especially on Bermuda grass, where he also makes a ton of putts. It's not his best surface, but still above average in terms of his splits there. Just really checks all the boxes we're looking for. Again, the iron play is gonna be ugly. I'm fully expecting that. You guys heard in my course breakdown earlier on this week, this course is going to be a complete, excuse my French here, mind fuck for him. He's just not gonna know what to do. His distances are gonna be all over the place. He's already very erratic with his distance control to begin with. You know, he's missing greens by 10 to 15 yards, even on flat golf courses, let alone when he has all these extra factors to try and take into play. So that, again, it's going to be rough there, but if he can hold it together, give himself enough opportunities off the tee, particularly with wedges, is going to be able to get to potentially 25 under par. So I like him in the outright market. I love him on DFS as well. He's garnering just 17.9% ownership right now, which is definitely more than enough to stomach. That is all we've got for our fades and sleepers for this week. Go ahead and let me know down in the comments who, first of all, you guys have as your biggest fade this week, the guy being the most overhyped, and of course your biggest sleeper pick. I always love to hear from you guys, always love to get a little bit of debate going. Just make sure you guys go ahead and let me know down there below in the comments. And as always, really appreciate you guys stopping by and enjoying the content. If you guys haven't already liked and subscribed, make sure you guys go ahead and do so. We're going to have a live chat this afternoon. That'll be at 4:30 p.m. Eastern time. So if you're watching this after the fact, the replay will be up on the channel. But on there, we're going to discuss weather. We're going to go through my player pool, my projections, everything like that. Talk some ownership as well, and go over any live questions you have down in the chat. So highly recommend you guys stop by. If you have any live questions and you're able to make it, make sure you go ahead and bring them by. But if you're watching the replay, you'll be able to see all of the content there as well. So I'll put a link down in the description for that. Good luck with all of your lineups for this weekend. If you're doing any showdown lineups, make sure to stop on by for our live chats. We'll be doing one for the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday round. And of course, all of our full content going forward. So again, make sure to like, but more importantly, make sure you subscribe if you guys haven't already, because we're going to have all of that golf content coming and you're not going to want to miss any of it. So peace, guys. Let's get this cash, and I'll see you guys later on.